Hello everyone, and welcome to week 14 of English 120. This week we're going to continue to work on the research project. You'll do the next steps in creating a thesis and an outline, and you'll get yourself ready to begin drafting in the following week. You'll be reading In the Valley of the Moon in Book 3, Chapters 4 through 9. You'll also be reading in the Bedford Researcher, Chapter 11 on Thesis, Chapter 12, Developing Your Argument, and Chapter 13, Organizing. Your assignments this week include a discussion forum on Valley of the Moon, Book 3, Chapters 4 through 9, where you'll be expected to answer 5 of the 11 questions, making sure that all the questions are answered by someone in the class. You'll have 2 very related comp class assignments, respect academic ethics and avoid plagiarism. And just a heads up that all of the rest of the comp class research lessons and quizzes are now open if you want to get those out of the way now. You'll have 2 research journals due this week, including drafting your thesis statement and a research journal on creating an outline. So for this week's discussion forum about Valley of the Moon, I'd love for you to read Book 3, actively read Book 3, Chapters 4 through 9, and then use evidence from the text and also from outside sources to answer 5 of the following questions in detail. And when I say in detail, I mean really, really explain why you think this is important to the text. Who is Mrs. Mortimer, and what does she teach Billy and Saxon about farming? What kind of farm does she have? And does this remind you of any modern farms? What was Mrs. Mortimer before she was a farmer, and how is she a helper to Saxon and Billy? How is she different from Mercedes? Second question is, who was Rip Van Winkle? When you think of answering this question, don't just answer with the quickest Wikipedia answer you can get. I want you to tell me who this character is, what he does, who wrote about him, what time period that was, so please put some effort into it. Who were the Donner Party, and what happened to them in the Sierra Nevadas? What is the Cape Horn? And what does it have to do with San Francisco and pioneers? What happened at Sutter's Mill? Where was the bear flag raised and why? Please, again, use outside sources to really help you answer these questions. What does Saxon discover about her mother from Mrs. Mortimer? Where do Billy and Saxon go after leaving Mrs. Mortimer's, and who catches Billy and Saxon in the barn? What is vagrancy? Who is Benson? Is he a helper or someone helping Billy and Saxon along their quest? Why or why not? Why does Billy begin to think that any good man can get work in the country? That's a quote from page 291. What is Saxon's reaction to seeing the sea at Monterey? Why do you think she reacts this way? Who is the swimmer Billy and Saxon encounter at the beach? What happens in their interaction with him? What are Billy and Saxon able to do for the first time in their lives at Bierce Cove? Who are the abalone eaters, and what do Billy and Saxon learn from them? As always, please make sure you not only post your own post by Saturday at 11:59 p.m., please make sure you respond to at least 3 of your peers' responses, adding to the conversation. So let's talk a little bit about the next steps of the research process. You guys have done a great job pulling together a research question, adding that to your research prospectus, then finding at least 6 valid sources to write annotations about. Our next step is to work with those sources and to really take notes and have a system for keeping those notes. I'm someone that likes to use a spiral notebook or index cards. And if you use index cards, you want to write on one side of the card, you can put your direct quotations or a paraphrase of the content, because remember, if you're paraphrasing something, you still have to cite that source, or a paraphrase and quote combo. Then on the other side, you want to put your bibliographic information, the author, the place that it was published in, the date of publication, all of the MLA formatting nuggets of information that you've learned from Chapter 21. So the basic structure of your research paper will be this. It will begin with an introductory paragraph or paragraphs that will include, towards the end of it, a thesis statement. The thesis statement is the most important sentence you will write in this document. Your paper will be approximately 10 to 12 body paragraphs, could be a little bit longer, depends, and it will also include a 1 to 2 paragraph conclusion. Finally, you will also have a works cited page that will cite all of the sources that you refer to in your paper. So the first stage in creating your research paper is to develop your thesis statement. You're now shifting from just collecting information toward crafting your contribution to the conversation about your issue and planning your argument. This process begins with your thesis statement. A thesis statement is a clear, focused expression of the main point you want to make. So how do you create a thesis? You want to begin by reviewing your position statement. Reflect on your position on your issue. Does it still represent the most important thing you want to say about your issue? Some of you may still only have a research question. That was the question that you added to your research prospectus. And a position statement, as you'll remember a few weeks back, we worked on this, but a position statement is where you answer that question by taking a stand on part of the issue, making a claim of some sort. If you turn to page 62 in the Bedford Researcher, there's a lot of information about developing a position statement. If you have not developed your position statement yet, please make sure you start with your research question, you create a position statement, and then you're going to go on to creating your thesis statement. If you're having trouble with this process, please make sure you reach out to me. All the information on writing a position statement is found on pages 63 and 64 in the Bedford Researcher. Next, after you create your position statement, you want to review all your notes. With your position statement in mind, quickly review the notes that you've taken so far on the sources you've gathered. Identify important information, ideas, and arguments that you've come across in your reading, and review and elaborate on ideas and arguments you've come up with about your topic. Then consider your purpose and role. After you review your research and notes, you should have a clearer understanding of your topic and be closer to the main point you want to make in your document. Remember, you need to know what your purpose is and why you want to make that your purpose. So when you draft your thesis, you want to identify information, ideas, and arguments associated with your position. Review your research questions and answers and underline key words. Draft multiple versions of your thesis statement. A thesis statement is the most important sentence you're going to write in this entire research paper. An effective thesis can either invite readers to learn something new, suggest that they change their attitudes or beliefs about something, or argue that they should take an action of some kind. You'll see below there are 3 examples of a position. First is a position statement, and then there's 3 examples of thesis statements written off of this position statement. So the position statement was, preserving privacy on social networking websites is an individual responsibility. A thesis statement that asks readers to learn something new about this position is, social networking websites don't reveal personal information, people reveal personal information. A thesis statement that asks readers to change their attitudes or beliefs about this topic is, we should view the use of social networking sites in educational settings with a great deal of caution. A thesis statement that asks a reader to take action about this topic. People who use social networking websites should learn how to safeguard sensitive personal information. Now there's an entire chapter in our book written about writing a thesis statement. It is chapter 11, beginning on page 203, and these sample thesis statements that I've added to the slide are also available on page 206. So your first reflection journal is going to have you go back and look up your research question, convert it into a position statement, and then work with that information towards writing your thesis statement. So in your journal, complete the following activity to draft your thesis statement. This is taken from the exercise on page 207 to 209. My research question is, my position statement is, my purpose for writing is. Remember, this is why you're writing it. You need to know it's not just to get an A on this paper. I want my readers to do one or more of the following. What do you want your readers to learn about? How do you want your readers to change their attitude? What do you want them to do to take what actions do you want them to take? The most important words and phrases in my research question are. The most important words and phrases in my position statement are. Building on my research question and position statement, my thesis statement is. My readers are likely to respond to this thesis statement by asking the following questions or raising the following objections. I can focus my thesis statement by rephrasing it. There should be a big change between my thesis statement is on number 7 and your focused, rephrased thesis on for number 9. So please do a lot of work in between. After you've created your thesis statement, I'd like you to work on creating a draft outline. This will kind of be the blueprint that you'll use to write about your research paper. Once you've created a strong thesis, you can begin to think about the 3 or 4 subtopics you will discuss in order to prove your thesis. You do this by creating an outline. Your outline provides a framework you can use to draft your document. Your outline should include the points you will include in your document, the order in which you will make your points, the evidence you will use to support each point. Here's a sample outline format. Thesis statement at the top, then introduction with a short topic history and current trends and issues, introduction of paper's main issue. You will actually put this information in here. Yours will not say short topic history and current trends issues. You will actually say what the topic history is and the current trends and issues are. You'll add in your thesis statement. What is the first subtopic you want to talk about? What are some examples of evidence you could use to support that topic? What is the second subtopic you'll talk about? And some evidence to support that. Third subtopic, evidence to support that. Thinking about counter arguments. What might people think are the faults in your argument? Then writing a conclusion. So for your second research journal, I'd like you to map your argument by drafting an outline. List your revised thesis statement. That's the last one that you used in the previous research journal. Review your notes to identify reasons that help advance your thesis statement. Subtopics. List all possible subtopics, at least 10. How will readers accept your thesis? Consider the organizational patterns listed on the next slide. Choose one. Use the pattern to map the order of your subtopics. Create an outline as shown on the previous slide. Review your outline by asking yourself, does my outline provide an effective organization for my document? Have I covered all of my key points, subtopics? Have I addressed my key points, subtopics in sufficient detail? Do any sections seem out of order? Finally, I wanted to introduce the next major assignment you have that we're working towards, the research paper. Your final paper will be an argumentative research paper that explores the topic you presented in your project topic form and your research prospectus. Your topic must be arguable and related to a topic or theme found in the Valley of the Moon. Here's the format requirements. The paper needs to be 6 to 8 double-spaced pages. It needs to be in Times New Roman 12-point font and use MLA format. Please see Chapter 21 of the Bedford Researcher. Overall requirements. Your paper must use at least 6 academic sources that are referred to using MLA in-text citations that are listed on a works cited page at the end of your paper. Your paper must use ethos, pathos, and logos to argue your thesis. We will be talking about that next week, so don't worry about that. Your paper must have an introduction where you introduce your topic and you have a focused thesis that clearly states the topic you are writing about and the position you're arguing about this topic. Your paper must contain several body paragraphs that introduce subtopics that are proven with evidence. Your paper must have a conclusion where you clearly state how you have proven your thesis and communicate the purpose of your paper. The first draft, which needs to be a very finalized draft, not just a bunch of notes, is due the end of week 15 on May 12th. Your peer review and self-review will take place during week 16 and will be due on May 19th. Your final revised draft will be due on May 26th. This week for comp class, please complete the research lesson and quizzes on respect academic ethics and avoiding plagiarism. These are all due on May 5th at 11:59 p.m. That's it for this week. We will, sorry, this is not homework, this is for next week. I will fix the slide when you download them. This is incorrect. Next week you'll be actually writing your research paper. We'll be moving into the actual drafting mode. We'll talk about ethos, logos, and pathos. And we will also talk about developing your argument and organizing your paper. All right, that's it for this week. Please let me know if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you online.